All right, folks, welcome back to the Vigilant Hope podcast, where we're looking at hot topics around mercy and justice. We have a deep passion here to show mercy and justice in our city, and we want to encourage you to do the same. I'm here today with a very close friend, my brother Jamar, and I'm so thankful for him. And just a brief overview of what we're kind of going to get in today and this is a fun one. And honestly, I kind of had to get some confidence from Jamar to do this, but how do white folks support Black-owned businesses?
This is going to be so good.
And I'm really pumped about this. And I'm glad that Jamar has been with me on this journey. And so, but let's have some fun with Jamar.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, because you're just so fun and lovable. And I was thinking about this earlier. Like, man, there's the select few of people in my life that I just want to be around. I don't know that there doesn't have to be any agenda, but I just want to sit with you and we don't have to say anything. But like, there's this like calming like presence of like, and you do that with me and you do that here at the roastery.
Yeah.
But
the running joke is that I believe you have prayed me out of whatever spaces I've been in back into here.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like different seasons of life. I spend extended periods of time with you.
When we first opened up, I mean, you were here every single morning.
Yeah.
And then you took like a sabbatical for a year. I never saw you.
Went to go work.
Apparently too busy for us. But. So when you come into Vigilant Hope Roasting, which by the way, this is sponsored by Vigilant Hope Roasting.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally probably the best coffee shop in the entire world.
Absolutely.
It's probably going to be in heaven. I think Jesus is probably going to be sipping on some Vigilant Hope Roasting.
Probably
eventually,
so.
Yeah. So when you come in, what's your favorite drink here at the roastery?
For years, I've come in season and out of season to ask for a cozy. It has been
classic.
Yeah. More people that know me from coming in here have come in here, and I've told them to ask for a cozy.
Yeah, I mean, we still serve that here and there, but that was like an OG.
Absolutely. That's how long I've been coming here.
I'm trying to think, what is that? Caramel?
I have no idea what exactly is in it. It was so good. And I get mine with oat milk. To the point, like most baristas, and I always, even when new ones come in, it's like, this is what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be oat milk. And I believe that Jesus is going to have a cozy because I believe that drink is God's favorite drink.
I can't believe I don't even remember what that is. I think it's like caramel and maybe some salt. And
there's definitely a salt element, maybe a little vanilla.
Yeah, caramel vanilla.
Caramel vanilla, some sea salt. It just feels like a big hug when I drink it. Yeah.
Yes. If you could be on any podcast, what would it be? Besides this one, obviously.
I would do Funky Fridays with Cam Newton.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been listening to him pretty consistently lately, and I like his perspective on life. And I feel like a lot of what he talks about resonates with like my brand. And he's unapologetically himself.
Yeah.
I feel like he dresses in the same font that he writes on social media in.
Cool.
But it's cool. It works for him. And I like people who are authentically themselves. And I feel like that would be a fun conversation to have, to go hang with Cam.
I've never actually heard of that podcast. So
he's interviewed everybody, man. He's had like rappers. He's had pastors. He's had psychologists, therapists. He's done a little bit of everything on there.
Well, maybe one day you'll be on there.
Who knows?
Because he's probably listening to this right now. Like, okay, I'm going to get Jamar on now.
Yeah.
Just walk us through real quick a day in the life of the great Jamar.
Oh my goodness. It depends on which day of the week it is. So it's easier to talk through my week than a day because Mondays are pretty chill, but then by Tuesday we're in the thick of it because I have a small group with guys here at 7 a.m. on Wednesdays. We've got a co-ed group at 7:30 a.m. here on Thursdays. We have Young Life gatherings every other Monday. I've got team meetings once a week on Tuesday. I work at Bozeman's part-time. And then there's like church on the weekends because I lead worship. in the ministry that we're a part of, and I have a wife and I have kids and things that go on with them on a regular basis. There is no standard like thing
That's a great answer.
because there's meetings in the middle of everything I just named. Like,
Yeah.
for example, yesterday we had our 7:30 with the kids. I had an 8:30. I had to be to work at 10. Then I had an appointment that afternoon. And then I had something on my calendar that ended up getting moved to next week where I was going to go and talk to a local high school football team as they prepare for their playoff game. So I'm a little bit of everywhere doing a lot of things, but my life really is owned by my calendar at this point.
Well, what an honor to have you here.
Yeah.
I think again, this topic around how do white folks, particularly like since we're really kind of bridging the gap between the church and how they can actively be involved. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm obviously white.
I never knew that. Your haircut is very swaggy.
Yeah,
it's very fade-ish. Like,
I mean, it's fresh. I just got it yesterday, maybe, or the day before, maybe. I don't remember. But so we really here at Vigilant Hope, we want to bridge the gap and kind of advocate for the church to be involved and really to talk about things that they often maybe don't feel the confidence in, and for us, we serve a lot of middle class white churches, to be completely honest. And so I'm really pumped about this. And obviously, you have a business of your own.
Yeah.
Which, you can, if you're watching, Relationship Over Religion.
Absolutely.
Briefly talk a little bit about that. And
so the brand started as a way for folks who feel like they're far from God to understand that He loves you no matter what. And then the conversation evolved into what does relationship look like versus what I'm learning in some religious spaces. And the hope is that we are able to be a bridge between community and the cross, right?
Yeah.
And another hope is that we strengthen ministries by introducing people who would have never dotted the doors of a church to God in an authentic way. Like, so we do a lot of outreach, a lot of street ministry. We're kind of boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And we live this out. And I feel like that is the core, and it's evolved. I mean, it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
So now we're at being the gospel of Jesus. And what does that really look like? And then we can get into the teachings of coming together and not forsaking the assembling of ourselves, like the Bible says. But when we think about the cross, and this is the easiest way to explain it, there are two beams in the cross. There's one from the ground to the sky that represents us to God and our vertical relationship with Him.
Yeah.
Then there's the horizontal beam.
Yeah, of course.
And we cannot put any relationship, we can't hang it on anything else but that vertical beam, or it falls to the ground.
Yeah.
And so we think romantic relationships, like my marriage, we think platonic relationships, community relationships, the faith relationship. If it's not rooted in that vertical relationship with God, how can it stand?
Yeah.
But how do people learn how to fall in love with God without without somebody trying to teach them what that looks like?
Yeah.
And so the brand is a message, and we encourage people to know what they're wearing before they put it on, because it's been confused a lot of different times.
Yeah.
But that's the goal. And anybody who's watching can go to relationshipoverreligion.com and learn a lot more about us.
Buy everything. It is Christmas time.
It is.
So spend your money here with Jamar.
Yeah.
Before we get into like the rural, which I'm really excited to get into, I want to bring just really some thanks. So to kind of flip flop this topic, is obviously you've been in Wilmington all your life for the most part.
Short of about 5 to 6 years, yeah.
So when we started the roastery, which let's be honest, majority white, you took this place where you as a minority person, a leader in our city, and you took this stance, which I greatly respected, to come in, and you brought this confidence into this, and I just want to thank you for that. But walk us through like how that felt, and then we'll kind of flip flop it on, because I think it could help us understand. I guess, as I say, as white folks, again, this is kind of a little bit awkward, but healthy.
Right.
But it's a topic that we need to talk about. But What was it that gave you that confidence? And maybe it's just who you are, but because I think for white people to walk into a majority black owned business or black culture, we tend to get a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But why is it that you didn't in that, and maybe you were? Let's be honest in that. Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah. I think coming in, I didn't realize it then, but now when I talk about like being the gospel, where was Jesus afraid to go? And so, but more importantly, y'all had good coffee. Like, like it didn't, and it wasn't born out of some mission as much as it was the coffee was good. Coming in here and being a person of faith, I'm hearing worship when I walk in the door.
Yeah.
I felt welcomed when I walked in, and I was familiar with the mission of Vigilant Hope before I came here.
Yeah.
And so my thought was, because I'm in the outreach in the streets, just like
yeah.
y'all.
Yeah.
Why not support a mission that is attempting to raise more money so they can do more work?
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks who have missions that aren't doing work. I knew the work that was already being done, so I can support that. And then I literally felt the presence of God when I came in here. So it was a different type of peace.
Wow.
And then I am the type of person that just shows up.
Yeah.
And I don't meet strangers. But it's because where was Jesus afraid to go?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of where I'm at in my life. I just want to really be whatever the gospel could look like.
Yeah.
With the understanding, like, I'm not perfect, but when we talk about supporting initiatives, I believe in the mission.
Yeah.
Didn't matter who was running it. I believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think you just answered the question to this whole topic. If you believe in the mission, it doesn't matter. It's just, I love that. And I love your confidence in bringing that to the table. Because I think if everyone had your confidence into supporting something that they believed in, it wouldn't really matter who's behind, the serving or anything. It's just you want to support that good product. But I think and we don't have to get into it real heavy, but like just give us, just so that we got people already here, like your first gut, like when I first asked you, like, how can white folks support black owned businesses? What would you say?
We don't need people to fight for us. We need friends. And I think when you talk about the art of black owned business, I think some people get caught up in the race piece of it.
Yeah.
That they don't even do the work to find out who's actually running the business.
That's so good.
Some people will make a decision and say, oh, it's black owned. It's probably going to be not the best experience. And it's so much more work as a black owned business that you have to prove that you're worthy to be in certain rooms in comparison to just like, you know what? I'm going to be like, the word ally gets thrown around really loose.
Yeah.
But I just want to support this.
Yeah.
And it not be about all of the things. And yeah, there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations.
Of course.
But have the courage
Yeah.
to have the conversation on the back end because you believe in what you're supporting.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about the person. Sometimes it is about the person. Like, if I put out junk merch, right, but people just wanted to support it because it was me, that's cool. But I believe that we put out a great product too, and it creates retention. And then the other thought I had was, why are we still having this conversation in 2024?
That's deep.
Where was the disconnect? Where did we miss it? What can we do to be able to get to the next step of the conversation? Because supporting black owned business is one thing. Helping a black owned business scale is totally different.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
because I would say, like, I think there's a lot of good momentum in supporting black owned businesses because culture is kind of pushing us that way. And we realize, because it really is a more talked about subject than I think it was, 5 years ago? Agree, disagree?
Yeah.
But I like your let's press into that a little bit more, like the long-term support, because I think more trendy just to go and support and do that one-time transaction.
Yeah.
But how can this be more of the long time, like maybe some practical steps for white folks to help, scale, or just to help be that long time? Like, do they have to believe in the mission, obviously, and stuff? But yeah, go.
Right. I think sharing it, making it a conversation topic, because from a clothing perspective, we don't have a hard time having a conversation about those Lululemon jackets. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or like it's just the conversation. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I love your Stanley Cup. Well, why can't it be, oh, I love your insert business, whatever?
Yeah.
And the same way we route people to Stanley's website to go find the exact same cup,
Yeah.
we share the link to that business, or we share the location or where we got it from,
Yeah.
and consistently and intentionally push it. Social media is such a great tool.
Yeah.
And if more people were to, because it feels like sometimes Black-owned business support is almost like the king going to Jesus at night. Like, I don't need anybody to really know that I'm supporting you.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
But I also have this whole community that I don't want to necessarily ruffle their feathers because I'm supporting you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I feel like if we were, there's some, and those are the ones. Because there are people who are very vocal in their support, and I love and appreciate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the ones who secretly support because they're like closet supporters. That's where the challenge is, because a lot of those folks have access to opportunities that could change the
Yeah.
entire trajectory of a
Yeah,
business, but we're gatekeeping that stuff. Because it also means I got to tell people that I have this relationship over here. And I think that it does our world a disservice when we are secret lovers of an entire race.
Ooh. Can you say that again?
I think that it does the world a disservice when we're secret lovers of
Yeah.
an entire race.
Yeah. So you're kind of encouraging, like, let's be confident, and in the long term, like, advocate. I guess advocacy is a huge word here. It's like, man, this should not be a one-time transaction. It shouldn't be in the closet, I'm going to support it, but actively promoting and advocating.
Yeah.
For,
Like, when I say we need more friends, we get from being relational to from being transactional
Yeah.
to being relational in
Yeah.
our support.
Yeah.
Because now it's not just this one-time thing and I've checked this box.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
supported my one
Yes,
Black-owned business
yes.
for the year. It's like I'm actively supporting. Because sometimes in 8 years of running this brand, people would they would ask me for different things or different colors, and then we would do it and they wouldn't support it. It's like, well, thank you for your idea.
Yeah. I
but,
listened to you as a business owner. Now you're not supporting me.
But my bottom line is
Yeah.
kind of depending on you continuing to create support for this. And so that's a challenge. Like, don't just give us lip service because it makes you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Do the things to help us go to the next step.
That's so good. It's kind of coming out of this mentality. I mean, it really, to kind of break the walls of diversity, it's just a common knowledge in any business. It's this relationship, you know? And I love that you kind of went there. And let me take it a step further to dive more into why we do this podcast is how can the church, how can white Christian people, and maybe it is the same answer.
Yeah.
But maybe let me change that. Like corporate white churches support better the Black-owned businesses.
Access.
Okay.
Access is the number one answer. Like, of course, when you talk about church, and I'll speak specifically about my brand, you got to vet stuff out, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to platform things that don't line up with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into the doctrine of the church.
Yeah.
Does it line up with the gospel? Is it something that we can get behind? Do they offer a service that we feel like could be beneficial to our congregation? Then that's what you do. And it should not be, we don't need a ticker tape parade.
Yeah.
But what we would love is to be able to say that there's a constant referral process.
Yeah.
Because the people on the platforms have endorsed these businesses in a way that an entire congregation gets behind it. For me, if you have a store in your church, reach out and say, hey, we want to carry your merch in there. Or reach out and say, can I have a conversation about the real definition of your brand? Because I may want to do that. Because we don't want to be assumptive, and it's not a situation where it's owed, but I think the greater conversation is when we get to a place where these businesses, the people that own them, are then invited into community at large.
That's so good.
And then your business automatically becomes engrafted in this community. In Wilmington in particular, we are I think 13% black, right? Starting a business as a black man in this city, you cannot honestly survive off of
So
doing business with just that 13%
yeah,
of
yeah.
people. You need to be in other rooms. You need to have different conversations in order for you to actually go long term.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you have to have a very dynamic online platform
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be able to capture audiences outside of
That
here.
could be very expensive and
It
hard
it
and
could be,
access. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And so if there are ministries in the city who can be more intentional about finding those the businesses that provide services that
Yeah.
are needed, then that's a great start.
Yeah.
And we don't, and they shouldn't have to be a part of your church to be
Yeah,
supported by
yeah.
your church.
I love that. I mean, again, we're coming back to this relationship piece. So let me kind of, you kind of said practically, maybe the leaders of the church should be in relationship with some of the black-owned businesses in a way
Absolutely.
to understand and believe in the mission and then help promote and see if it would. And you're not asking for them to like get on the pulpit and say you need to support this,
Yeah,
but just be an active relationship with those and
absolutely.
listen.
Yeah, because you can't force people to spend money,
Yeah, of course.
but you can make the same type of recommendations that we do in everyday
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
And if you believe in what this person is doing,
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
And you've done even more than enough to help somebody get
Yeah,
into a
yeah,
better position.
yeah. Because you broke down the barriers of this whole race thing, and you're just looking at the person and hey, let's be in how can we do this?
Yeah.
I love that, and it really speaks to like how we started the roastery because we really did have this relationship with churches, and I would say if it wasn't for church folks, I'll even go deeper, white church folks,
Hmm.
the roastery would not be surviving.
Absolutely.
You know,
Hmm.
and so we need more of that in the black owned business.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I mean, most black churches in our city are not in the position to help stand up. Because again, it goes back to that 13%.
yeah,
Like I would speak to my brand alone. Like we've got people from ministries all over the city who have supported us.
hmm
But imagine if one of these larger spaces was like, "Hey, come," or not just for me, but anybody.
yeah,
That there's people who do make candles and they're
yeah, yeah,
really great products.
yeah,
Like there's people that do a lot of different things,
hmm
and if those types of doors were to
yeah.
open, it's game changer.
Let's talk through some of the historic challenges that um, the black owned businesses have and
Hmm.
have had years and years ago, obviously. But just talk us through that because I mean you've been in banking and
Yeah,
business and how hard it is just to get like a loan or anything like that in this type of work.
yeah. The greatest challenge is financial.
Yeah,
I've talked to dozens of business owners, hundreds at this
yeah,
point. And the major difference that I've seen between some white owned businesses and most black owned businesses is one group has literally bootstrapped
hmm
their start,
yeah,
where others have had money somewhere from somebody that gave them the cushion they needed to pursue that dream in a way
hmm
that it was attainable.
yeah, yeah,
It is hard as a
yeah,
black owned business to find five, six, $700 just to get off the ground
yeah,
when you've got bills and you've been in a cycle of poverty, but you've got a
hmm
dream.
yeah, yeah,
And when you've made some financial decisions in the past that have put your credit in a space
hmm
where you're not in the best
yeah,
position to leverage that for lending, and do I leverage that for lending for my business or do I try to repair my credit to own a
mm,
house?
yeah,
It's so much more that goes into that thought process
yeah,
for most black owned businesses. And there was a great season where there was a lot of money being put out for black owned businesses from a standpoint of grants and et cetera.
yeah, yeah,
Some did the right things with it, and we see them doing well now, or sustaining
yeah, yeah.
now, and then others just didn't because life was still happening.
Of course.
And so that's probably one of the greatest challenges. And then what we've been talking about this entire time is access to an audience that can help you
Mm,
generate the revenue to
yeah,
keep
yeah,
going.
yeah,
because I think that's another huge challenge. Is you invest the money, you do things the right way, and you never get access to the audience that could help you
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
You get frustrated,
Yeah.
and you pack it up because I mean, how many more T-shirts can I sell to these three people?
Yeah. Yeah.
And no matter how many times these three people share within their community about the shirt, you might sell a total of six. But if I were ever to be able to get access to a different room and present what I've prepared for,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
really ready,
Yeah.
like it'd be different if I wasn't ready to walk into that larger room. But if I can walk in that room and I'm ready, I've got the merch, I know I've got the 30-second
Yeah.
pitch,
Yeah.
I've got the POS
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
If I just had the
Yeah.
opportunity,
Yeah.
it could change everything. But
It's got to be so discouraging.
it can be.
You
It
know?
absolutely it can be.
I want to kind of go back to the how we can get the church involved, mainly the the white churches,
Yeah.
because I think, and I think I have the kind of platform to say this. Vigilant Hope does, as we're working kind of to end poverty. What would it look like for a church, instead of using their benevolence on this crisis? Oh, can you pay my cell phone bill? Which is good. But I've always been advocating for, what would it look like for a church to financially support a black-owned business that cannot get the access to, the bank lending? Is that something that you think would go over well?
Absolutely.
Really?
I do. I think that most ministries, if you have the ability to do the community benevolence,
Yeah.
you probably have the ability to set up
Yeah.
a fund over time, and you can strategically
Yeah.
do it in a way that you prepare for it. And when you get into the larger conversations about annual budgets and all those different
Yeah.
things, it can be a line item. When you think about what you're bringing in every week, realistically, if you put $1,500 to $2,000 to $2,500 aside on a weekly basis to go into a fund,
Yeah.
and then you maybe at the end of the year give it in some way, shape, or form, like
Yeah.
there's a strategy that could work,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think it's absolutely doable. I think it will be amazing.
And I know what you're going to say, but I just want to make sure we're all listening to this part. Don't you think that would end parts of poverty if churches would align their benevolence in that way?
Yes,
Yeah.
1,000%. Especially if you have, like, churches own properties around here.
Yeah.
And so if you had the ability to even allow some of these folks, after you help them stand up, like give them retail space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those who have like that type of product.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's retail space within the church, even better, because you have a captive audience.
Yeah.
That's gonna come through. There's a lot of different arms you could pull together, and it could make a huge impact.
Yeah.
But in the same way, and I know for a fact you'll get pushback, because there'll be something be like, the church can't solve everything, but the church can solve some things.
Yeah.
That is ministry. That's the ministry of Jesus.
Yeah.
He saw problems. He provided solutions in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That's my pushback for any emails you may get. And so, but I think it could make a huge impact if managed and presented properly.
That's probably one of 50 nonprofits we're going to start together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me and Jabbar often sit together and we dream, and we're like, we need to do that.
Yeah.
And there's another one.
Thank you for adding this to our growing list.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening, you could just help us do it and just do it yourself. We'll
I'm not opposed at all to consulting on some level with that. You see how I slid away from it? I'll consult.
consult. That's a very smart and wise way. I'll consult you, but I won't do it. Again, you've been a part of the Roastery and Vigilant Hope for many years. So I am definitely not a professional at trying to build, and help our brothers and sisters in black-owned businesses. But I stepped into this with Cherie at Blend Stations and offered her a space, very affordable, saw that she had this dream, and even witnessed some of her frustrations of not getting access to some of the things. I said, well, just come over here and use this extra kitchen. In your eyes, like, kind of walk through as you saw that, maybe, and don't be afraid to hurt my feelings, like some of the good and bad things you saw in that.
I mean, I wish more people took your approach to things. because it's like there's relationship established,
Yeah.
and you get to know even more. You do business with, because
Yeah.
I know like her drinks and stuff were over here before she
Yeah.
ever came over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You supported in a way, and you always have supported in a way that people have never needed to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's one. The process, all in all, I believe it was God's timing, and for her to kind of like learn a lot of things before she came over here too.
Yeah.
But being able to say, I have this space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not using all of this space.
Yeah.
What can I carve out this square footage for and be impactful?
Yeah.
That is what we're at. That's the core of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hurt you any
Yeah.
any to put her in that space. And if it does not work, it's not on you. You've done every single thing you could
Yeah.
to see somebody that you've watched and built relationship with, who's become a part of your community.
Yeah.
You've done what's necessary to see them scale. Now the ball is in her court.
Yeah.
If it doesn't scale, it's not any
Yeah,
fault
that's
of your
good.
own.
Yeah.
But to know her journey and to see what she's gone through, I'm tremendously proud of Cherie, because the average entrepreneur gives up. And most, if not 80% of the folks who could possibly benefit from some of the things we're talking about in this conversation have given up because they just didn't have everybody won't have a Jeremy or Megan.
Nobody wants
To be able to say, like, I believe in you in a way that I want to do life with you on a certain level, and then as an opportunity comes up, I want to put you in position to have access to because not only are you sharing your space, you're sharing your audience
Yeah.
as well. And so good on you for doing it. And I don't have any negative feedback because it worked. And y'all didn't stop until it worked. It would have been easy to give up on it when there was an attempt for it to be what became the space next door, because I remember that.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. But you found a way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a while. And I think for those who want quick wins, turn the video off now, because sometimes it's not a quick win supporting Black-owned business, because there's so many other challenges that we are working through as business owners. And it would be great to be able to say, like, yeah, you want to support me, but I'm not ready yet.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a marathon.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit. You don't want to ever pray for patience, but you got to have some patience,
Listen, that's one of the most dangerous prayers I believe we can pray. But being able to say that there's community that is supporting you while you're working through it. You were still doing business with her while she was figuring out how to get to where she was going.
And that kind of goes back to this long-term relationship. We became friends. We're learning from each other. Even if she wasn't in that space, we were still learning from each other, and we knew, and we were excited to be able to get her audience participating in our product, and then our audience participating in her product. And it really has been this beautiful image of God. The best compliment that I think that we've ever gotten at the roastery, and I would say for Cherie too, it wasn't about the products. It was about, I think this is what heaven's going to look like. And I think that's in every kind of atmosphere that we're working towards. It should be this beautiful, diverse, every different parts of life should be represented.
What does the side of the building say?
In Wilmington as it is in heaven.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. In Wilmington as it is in heaven.
Yeah. Well, as we're kind of just do a call in action and kind of final thoughts. And I think we've hit on this over and over, but I think it's good just to kind of, but for you, as you're talking to the majority white listener here, what are some consistent long-term actions that are going to support Black-owned businesses as we're going into Christmas?
Yeah.
But we don't want this just to be December and be done.
Yeah. And in January, we're back to going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Step one is shop.
Yeah.
Support financially. This is a time of year where people do a lot of giving as well, and some people have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
Find a business that you want to support and give them something.
I love that. It's not rocket science.
It's not.
You don't have to
It's not. The other thing is, when you meet these folks who have these things that you love, ask them why they're doing it. Because I think asking why and getting that answer would encourage you more to continue to do business with them? Or, I mean, it's a dangerous question because it could put you in a position where you don't want to do business with them anymore.
Yeah.
But either way, you know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And then you're more encouraged to put their product or their service in spaces that matter to you. My wife and I talk a lot about in the art of multi-ethnic ministry. I can tell who you really are by who puts their feet under your dinner table. And in the business world, I can tell what you really love by the brands that you support.
Yeah.
And there is no right answer. And I think sometimes people look at this stuff like there's a formula. And if I give black owned business like 30% of my business, and then if I give 70% over here, or however that breaks down, there isn't a formula. I've never figured out the formula of work from the heart. And if your heart is really for it, then find spaces that you feel like you can invest time, talent, and treasure in long term. And please know, your one transaction does change a lot for these business owners, but long-term support could potentially change an entire company.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not just about you spending money. Sometimes you might not have the money to meet the price point, but you may know people who could benefit from the
You might welcome them into your
yeah
network.
Yeah.
You know, invite them over to the house. Invite 10 friends over and say, hey, like, what's that old school, like, Tupperware parties, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We used to do it, and I believe that you help the next generation of small business owners get to where they're trying to go.
Yes.
And you know, we do it locally, regionally, nationally, globally. Then we change the world.
Yeah. I love this. I love that we're really kind of talking about different topics too, and all different levels. And I love that it really does help us rethink how to break a cycle of poverty as well, you know, and the generational. And so, man, Jamar, golden words.
Man, thank you for having me.
So thankful for this time. This was a gem that is going to change the world.
Man, that'd be amazing. But if not, I got to get some time with you.
That always just hanging is always a dream come true. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you being on those podcasts. Thanks.
I appreciate you.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening.